FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And tonight, actually, we're talking to a band that actually just this past week won our Rock in the Dark poll against some heavy hitters. Some new music by Seether was out there, Starset, and I think Termati had their latest out. But no, they did not win. The band Lawless Hearts, which is out of, I believe it's Jacksonville, Florida, won with their song Creatures of Habit. On the phone right now, I'm talking with the lead guitarist, Michael Thomas. First of all, Michael, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Jacksonville, Florida, actually. It's, our hometown, and we're very excited to be talking to you. Thank you very much for getting me on the station. Absolutely.
I shouldn't ask this, but it's nice here today. I think we have like 70, 72-degree weather. So when I've done a lot of these interviews, I've done them over the winter, and it's been like 20 below, and then I ask some guy, where are you calling from? And they say, oh, yeah, we're down here in Arizona. It's 80 degrees. And then I'm like, yeah, thanks. What's the weather like today down there?
The weather like right now is actually about 78 degrees, nice and breezy. And it's been, it was kind of humid earlier, but now it's good bike riding weather if you got a motorcycle.
All right. And normally you get some afternoon rain that comes in for, an hour or two, and then it goes away. Is that kind of how it works down there?
Yeah. I mean, Florida is notorious for those 4 or 5 o'clock afternoon showers that just make everything completely hot and sticky. But right now it's great weather right now.
Well, I know I got you right in between here, going to go do a workout. So let's talk a little bit about your band, Lawless Hearts, and let's talk about the history of the band. How did this band all come about, Michael?
Well, the band, the name, and everything about it has been around for quite some time now. Obviously, it started off with me and my sister. We're the both founding members. We both had separate projects, and there was a little bug, a little seed from one of our guitar luthiers, and me and my sister, they said if you two get together, because we had this little EP that's like kind of like she had some stuff, I had some stuff, and we created this EP, and they heard it. Said if you get together, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, y'all will have something. Y'all have created something. I was always against having. I'm not saying my sister couldn't sing at the time. She's evolved over the years, but I was always I wanted just an all-guy rock and roll band, this rock and roll, and she changed my mind one day, and the rest is history from there. And we've gone through some lineup changes, and me and my sister as the core writing piece for this band. Our drummer Corey, he's a real heavy hitter in the writing and the structures of the songs and stuff. He completes them very well. But Corey is probably the next in line of one of, the longest members being in the band. But this lineup we have now, it's gone the farthest, leading us to the record deal and the single that you're hearing now. And I mean, there's just so much detail. But it started off with my sister, and we had a dream to have a rock and roll band, or what we thought was a rock and roll band, and maybe someday, headline arenas and tour the world.
Very cool, very cool. And speaking of your sister, now who's older, you or your sister?
Well, she looks like she's 12 sometimes because she was born premature, but she's older. She's actually 6 years older than me. Everyone says that we could look like twins, when we stand beside each other. But I guess that we're all in our 20s still. But she's older. I'm 22.
Okay.
And she's late 20s. I forgot her age. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But if you guys can stand next to each other, it's either you have long hair or she has short hair. So which one is it?
What's funny is when I'm standing next to everyone on stage, I'm like, I gotta bend down and to rock next to them just so it looks normal, because she's like in the pictures, where we take the angles of the picture, she's like Ronnie James Dio. You got Dio, you have this humongous voice, and then you meet Dio in the first, and you're like, wait a minute, it doesn't add up. How is that coming out of that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's heart. It's all about the heart.
Very cool, very cool. You mentioned Lawless Hearts, the name. What's the reason for that name? Why did you guys pick that name?
Lawless Hearts. Well, this is a very funny story, and my mom always says, our parents are very supportive of they're like the soccer parents of rock and roll per se. They encouraged me to grow my hair out long, basically. And with names, we were trying to come up with names for the sound we had created forever. I mean, like, we actually kind of rolled with a few of the names, like Quest and Strawberry Creek Revival, because I was the creek right beside our, neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, no, my God, and I was just like, no, we had listen names. And believe it or not, the story of how the name came along, and my mom says, don't you want like a more rock and roll story? Just make up one. That's not really. I'm like, no, I want to tell the truth, how the name freaking came. So I came in one Sunday morning, early to help my father do something with his yard work or something like that. And she was there, I imagine her like all cockeyed with her glasses hanging off, just kind of like she fell asleep in a weird position. And she literally gets up, mid-sleep with her eyes still closed and says, Lawless Hearts, and falls back to sleep. I kid you not, dude. I kid you not. She falls back to sleep. I look at my dad, and I'm like, that's like a Beavis and Butthead moment. I'm like, oh my. I was like, okay, well, it had the vibe, even if people think this way or think that way, it had it was the sound that we had created, that name. And I went immediately to look and see if and it had to be some rock band in history or somewhere down the line that had this name, that had some notoriety, that there was no way we could go and trademark this name. That little to, to my knowledge, that, I looked it up and nothing. So the next day I trademarked it. I was like, that's our name. We're going to take it. And I'm going to take that name to the top of the world with me.
Very cool. I think there's a movie, Lawless Heart, right?
Oh yeah. There's a movie, Lawless Heart, but it's like it has nothing to do with like music. It's
right.
Like a drama.
Yep.
But it's not plural. It doesn't have the logo that we have.
Yep.
We've never had any trouble with that movie. Because when we release previous things on iTunes, usually you'll get screened, because we had a song called Get Low. It was like a bluesy rock song, and it got screened for like 6 months, because at the same time we released, Little John released his song Get Low, and obviously he had money to put into marketing. So who's gonna, who's gonna win that battle?
Absolutely. Say, we're talking with the lead guitarist of the band Lawless Hearts. You mentioned Little John and dollars, and like who's gonna win that battle. Let's talk about this. We were talking about this off the air, about new artists like yourself and trying to break into the industry, and for that matter, even get on the radio, and how difficult it is nowadays. And talk about, I guess, being a new artist coming up, and how tough is it for you guys to break out?
Well, let's put it this way. It's probably the most hardest thing you'll ever try to do. Of course, you get, something on, and then it just catches, and then here comes, a good investor. But that's like, back then, it was so much more leniency to what the program directors, could do. Now the program directors, to me, it's sad to say that, I know quite a few of them here in town, they're just a body. They're a vessel there that's just like almost like a manager, where back in the day, if you brought something to them and they knew your work ethic and your love and your passion that you put into that song or your album, that was just like it, and they loved it just as much as you did, they would spin it. And they would have a say. Back then, the program, the DJ, they had a say. Now you have these people with Clear Channel and Cox Media that, legally they're bound by, okay, well, maybe we let a few indie artists. But no, you don't hear that. Only things you hear is, why do you hear the same artist over and over again? Hey, I mean, I love some of the artists that are played. I'm not dissing any musician.
Right.
I'm just saying, but financially, and for a certain standpoint, they're able to market their song on that radio more, and they're just, they're sending a syndicated list of, oh no, you're going to play this song this time, this song right here, this, that. Where these indie bands, that there's so much talent out there right now, and I put it this way, from, these young kids, there's a revolution coming, per se, because this game, I don't really play video games too much, but you got to give it to Rock Band and Guitar Hero because you don't hear, the new stuff on there. You hear the old classic stuff. And these kids that were playing it didn't drive. They didn't, all they went to school. And now they're growing up. They have their cars. They have girlfriends. They're doing, naughty things for the first time. And they're turning on the radio. And they're like, man, wait a minute. And now they're reverting back to their parents' bands, Motley Crue, freaking Guns, Bon Jovi. They're like, man, that's my stuff. They're going out and buying the old stuff. Why do you see these old bands touring so much nowadays? Because they have a young following now. Because they're listening to that. So now these young kids are wanting their band that they grew up with. And that game, I think, has helped it a lot. So that whole thing saying about it's hard now to get on the radio, I think things are about to change for the good of the music industry. And it's just like, say, listen to this. If you had gas, if it stayed consistently at $2, okay, it's a little bit high, but consistently $2, our economy would thrive.
Yeah, the one thing you mentioned, and I'm thinking of this when talking to some other people before, they mentioned like the Nickelbacks and that. They're the ones that you pretty much hear now all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, well, 15 years ago, who the heck was Nickelback? And if it wasn't for somebody out there to give them a chance, they wouldn't be what they are today. So why does the industry today think that they can't give anybody else a chance anymore because they're never going to have another Nickelback out there?
Exactly. Well, do you want me to?
Yeah, I want you to. Yeah, I want your 2 cents on it.
Well, let me. Okay, for instance, and everyone disses Nickelback, and if you really dive deep into their story, they're a real band. I mean,
right.
they went through the trenches just like every band, and they had their sound, and they made their mark, and they became really successful, and they enjoyed their success. And I'm appreciative. I love seeing that. And you're right. Somebody in the industry gave them that chance. And when Roadrunner came along, this is after. No one looks at what they did, to get Roadrunner's attention. No one looks at that. They just look at, they became popular and successful and made millions of dollars. And they diss them because, they're miserable because they didn't want to really push their dream. Don't pawn your miserableness on someone else's, on someone else's dream. These people, they were painstakingly trying to get on these independent radio stations all through Canada. Chad, he was just like nonstop, just like getting on stations. They were playing cover tunes, to pay their way so they didn't have to work jobs. And then finally, after they tracked and sold their record, tons of times and multiple copies, and they made a fan base. Roadrunner picked them up and they believed in them. They said, hey man, these guys they're going to make it. And they released that album, and bam, there you have it. It just took off. And now, here's the thing. A company and, big franchise, all this stuff, a company is based, off of that initial risk you take of, I might fail, or I might succeed past the stars. You have to, back then in the day, we had what you call the cigar chomping gurus where, they had the money to do whatever they wanted to do, and they just threw at the wall, basically this industry is made up of what stick to the wall and what didn't stick to the wall, and those initial risks, created some of the biggest and most iconical artists ever. That risk, you had Tom Zutaut, who had Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and everything. Those guys were like, I love them to death, but they were almost on their deathbed from drugs and alcohol. And he said, guys, y'all are gonna be the biggest band in the world. There's something about you. There's an aura about you. And there was a humongous risk. David Geffen, that he was basically betting. So just everything on this band, and he finally went to MTV and almost begged them to play "Sweet Child of Mine," and they finally did in this random Bobo ass spot. And little did you know, these people were like, "What the hell is this?" And they just freaking latched on to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you don't know until you let it. If it's good, check this out. Here's the thing. If it's good, if it's good, it will sell. No matter what type of music. If it's a freaking didgeridoo, you know, this dude is killing this freaking didgeridoo, and he's amazing. There's a portion of the world that it will sell. I mean, literally.
Absolutely.
That's my motto. Of course. I mean, look at what's selling now. I mean, listen, I would shake his hand, but that dude, Game Man style, that's his little silly, like, cartoon dance. And you saw how big it's like one of the highest viewed videos on YouTube. I mean, it's like, what the, you know what I mean? And now, you know, okay, for instance, you know, why are rappers looked at as the rock stars? You know, now rock stars kind of, you know, came back and like kind of became the house, you know, fathers of society, and came back and the rappers stood up and did it's a persona, it's an image with rock star. And it doesn't mean that just because you're dressed up in a fur coat, you're an asshole. It doesn't mean that. It's a persona. It's rock stardom. It's show business. You know, I want that to come back. When you saw Bon Jovi, like, okay, well, if he walked in a room, there was no doubt in that. You could have a dude that don't even know what a guitar is and say, you're a musician. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's a big change that, you know, I feel that there's more companies trying to start that race, and you know what's helping it is that, you know, I'm thankful for bands that are coming out. I mean, for instance, I'm thrilled by the single that they just released off their album. I mean, Asking Alexandria came out with a pretty kind of classic sounding ballad song. That I think is pretty, you know, I didn't really listen to them at all until that song came along. I was like, wow, they're stepping it up. And you have the one Pretty Reckless. They have a little bluesy appeal,
right?
You know, and I mean, in a sense, they're an older group of guys with Ball Beat. They came out and they're starting to kind of give the industry a little taste of how big. I mean, like it's like, did y'all forget how big the 70s and 80s were? Like when it's larger than life. What do you want to sell? Do you want to sell out clubs the rest of your life, or do you know, as an industry, or do you want to sell out the freaking desert 3 days in a row? You know, like it's. I think there's some awakening coming along with all the. You know, like I said, it repeats itself, and I think you know, back then in the day, they blew a lot of money on stupid things. You know, and they still do have money. The industry, it's just they're very like they have to almost just like they don't have time to develop a band. Okay, well, you don't have to develop Lawless Hearts anymore. We took 10 years of our life to find our sound, and we're very confident. And all you have to do is help pitch it to the world, and we're gonna be successful together. You know, and I don't mind that, and I understand that. Why would you want, you know, this dragging bag behind you that you have to just carry around and show how to become a rock star? I understand that, you know, but, you know, a band like us, I want to help, you know, if I get a chance, you know, this song, Creatures of Habit, takes off, for generous people like you and your station for giving it a chance to play and get people to hear it. If we get that chance to be successful and not have to work day jobs and get to go tour music, I'm going to give back trifold. I'm going to help other musicians, you know, succeed in what they want to do. And just like Chad Kroger, he was helping, what is the Theory of a Dead Man? He helped them come up. Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, am I wrong?
No, you're not. Not at all.
He brought them out on tour. He gave back, dude. You know what I mean? Bon Jovi, he brought like 4 bands that were multi-freaking platinum. 4. The record industry was like, holy, where they come from? You got Cinderella, you got Skid Row, you got what's his name? I forgot his name. He's really good friends with him, but there's like 2 other ones. I mean, it's just like you help out, you know, you help out each other.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's no freaking competition in this thing, you know. It's, of course, you know, you got the cage match thing, but that was just today. Tomorrow we could lose.
Right.
You know, it's not, and am I going to be pissed? Absolutely not. Their song was better that day.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't really, you know, all I want to do, listen, this is my motto. If I said that if all I had was, you know, because I don't come from riches and money. I mean, we're just regular people, you know, and if I were able to have an apartment, you know, and a car, and just support myself and survive solely off of music, define success for you. This success is not riches to me. Sex is you do what you love and you can support yourself.
Absolutely.
I want to shout out to Pavement again for, Mark and Tim and Shauna and Tim Binder and all at New Ocean Media for really wanting to see this through and giving us a chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's the initial risk, and I'm going to turn their dollar that they gave us, into an arena. So I'm going to do it. We're going to push it. We're going to do it together. You're a part of the team. All these stations, everyone. We are a movement. Lawless Hearts is not just some silly rock band to go and play some show for. We are a movement. There's a movement coming. It's going to be larger than life, and the world is ready for it.
Awesome.
So whoever wants to be a part of it is more than welcome.
Well, we're going to be definitely a part of that. That's for sure, Michael.
I appreciate it 100%, and we'll always stay in touch for that.
Say, we got a few more minutes here with Michael Thomas, the band Lawless Hearts. Michael, I want to get a couple more things at you and get a little more about your band. But first of all, I guess your comments, obviously your sister being the lead singer of the band, and that seems to be kind of a trend as of late, a lot of female-fronted bands. What are your comments about that?
I think I have mad respect for female power. They for one, they definitely know how to express themselves. As being my sister, I definitely know her different moods, and she there's just something to be said. I mean, they're really, back in the day, there wasn't, a huge. I mean, there was a heavy hitter. You had Lita Ford, you had Joan Jett, you had the metal girl. I mean, now you have Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm. Back then you had Pat Benatar, and there wasn't like a humongous, aura, about female huge heavy hitter rock singers. There was only it only made room for like a few. And now I guess just the way society has changed, these girls are falling in love with rock and roll music, and they're able, my sister is able to, she writes really good pop songs as well, but she was able to really cross her lyrics and her emotions, because we both went to art school. She went to, the same school. She went for creative writing. I went for guitar. Douglas Anderson here in Jacksonville, Florida, and she's able to, express her emotions through a riff I may make, and I guess it's the type of music that she can really push her emotions full throttle through and get the point across. And it's always, any song we've ever, even if it started off a little poppier, a little rockier, it always ended up, where it is with Lawless Hearts. And I think there's quite a few females, with what the industry has been putting out. You started with Paramore, which really wasn't like rock and roll to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like ska. They actually wanted her, I think, to be like sort of like No Doubt before she came out, but she wanted a band, which I have respect for that. She didn't want to be the solo artist, and I heard that from someone close to her. But the and that spawned from there, and all these Flyleaf come out, and all these other bands like that come out, and then it just kind of just evolved like into a more gritty rock and roll tone. And you hear the story behind, she was an actress as well, from Pretty Reckless,
right,
and the band she looked up to. And there's something to be said, and I think my sister can fall in those lines, along that rope of hard-hitting, rock and roll chick lead singers. I believe in her for that, and I'll stand beside her singing guitar while she sings those notes.
Awesome. Hey, we're going to have to wrap things up here, but I want to give you a chance to let people know how they can find out more about the band Lawless Hearts. How can they do that? You
can find everything and anything about our band through one link, which is www.lawlesshearts.com. At the bottom, you'll have all of our social media links, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And you just click on it and go straight to it. If you want to see our music video, which I'm going to get it up on the actual site itself very soon. But you can go see the music video at YouTube. It's on a bunch of other sites as well. But from our YouTube link and Facebook, you can go like our Facebook page straight from the website, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all straight from our website, www.lawlesshearts.com. The 4 songs, you can hear them and purchase them from our site, as well from the EP, Creatures of Habit. And, yes, just show us some love and support. Send us an email, subscribe to our mailing list. I get all the notifications, and if you message us, you will be hearing from me personally, or one of the existing members. So thank you very much to the Dark for having me speak on the station. Pleasure.
I appreciate it too, and we're going to play your latest song, Creature of Habit. In fact, I had a whole second page here of things to talk about, but you know what? We're going to have to do another interview maybe in about a few months ago and see how things are going. Does that sound all right?
That sounds great, man. It was a pleasure. I thank you very much, and we're going to stay in touch, man.
Awesome. All right, this is the latest song from the band Lawless Hearts. It's called Creatures of Habit. It's on the Dark. It's on FM 94.